Hi, everybody. Mark Burdig with Homer Center Wildcat head coach Greg Page as we are at Media Day for the Heritage Conference, and we're going to talk some football. Homer Center Report brought to you by Burdig Landscaping. No, it's not my company. You know me better than that. But my nephew Evan, from yard maintenance and landscape design to fall cleanup, Burdig Landscaping is there to ensure you and your family have a nice place to call home. Just as the Wildcats are making memories that last a lifetime, turn to Burdig Landscaping for your own memories at home. Check out Burdig Landscaping on Facebook and call today. Just imagine what Burdig Landscaping can do for you. And by our friends at Walbeck Insurance. Walbeck combines friendly neighborhood service supported by modern technology. Get your instant quote today at walbeckinsurance.com or call them at 724-479-9378. More choices, more savings, more reasons to choose Walbeck. And, Coach, your 19th season, right? Wow. We've been doing this. We've put up with each other for 19 years.
Yeah, it gets more glitz and more glamour over the years with social media and the cameras and stuff. But I don't know. It's kind of neat to think about. It's a lot different than it was almost 20 years ago. But I'm still here.
Yeah,
thankfully.
Well, the past two seasons, not what you have been accustomed to, or longtime Wildcat fans who have followed the school through thick and thin. So what do you think the biggest issues were the past couple of seasons, and what can be done to hopefully change the fortunes back around?
Well, I think 2 years ago we knew we were going to be very young, and that was a challenge in itself, I think, with only 5 seniors that year. And what was, ironic was we played more competitive in our losses 2 years ago than we did last year. And last year, we did have the injury bug. We had way too many injuries to be able to sustain for a Class A program. And then you're robbing Peter to pay Paul, so to speak, to get certain positions filled. But we got to own it. It just wasn't good some weeks. It was bad, in fact, a couple games where we just, it seemed like we didn't show up. And that's a credit to our opponents. But we've taken it upon ourselves to answer your final part of the question to get better equipped, work harder, emphasize more. It's not just the typical weights in the weight room. You got to strengthen your neck if you want to limit concussions. Got some better helmets. We got guys hopefully growing and getting stronger overall. That's what it takes, because you have to, it's a hard physical game, and I think some of our younger guys found it out last year.
Yeah, just being around the program for a long time, myself, the physicality of, maybe what we've been accustomed to from Homer Center really wasn't there. I can't speak to leadership. I know some guys that maybe you counted on leadership were some of the same kids that got hurt. So how do you get that culture back, that competitiveness? I've always said that Homer Center football, there was a certain swagger about the program that you just get the sense it hasn't been there for the past couple of years.
Yeah, and especially last year, I think we got to a point where so many of the things were happening with, the injuries and so to speak, that you kind of get into certain weeks, you get into survival mode. Like you're trying to put a plan together, and like I said, it's patchwork at times. This group of seniors, I believe, is different in their mentality, and they're going to have to prove it to us starting Monday, of course. You can do things in the off season, you can do things in the summer, but when push comes to shove, you have to be ready to do it when it's required. But I like their attitude, I really do. I mean, I think we finished with I think we finished with 7 juniors last year. These guys will be seniors, and I may be mistaken, and these guys can support that when you talk to them, but I don't think any of them got hurt. I mean, to me, that right there, and most of them were in the thick of things. They didn't get hurt, and they have that mentality that they're going to do whatever it takes. It's not a big group, like we said, number-wise. We don't have any guy that stands head and shoulders above anybody else, but I think that's the way they like it. So hopefully that leadership lends itself to the whole team being a little bit tougher.
Can you talk about the summer program, maybe points of emphasis that you've focused on to maybe spark a little bit of a turnaround?
First thing we did was we went more nights per week. We always go the same number of mornings for lifting. We decided to schedule our Under the Lights from the second week in June, 3 nights a week, whereas in the past we'd maybe start with 2 nights a week, maybe hit some 3 nights in July. We did that for probably 6 weeks straight, 3 nights. So we wanted to increase the reps and the intensity. The other thing was just really going back. I think we could have done a better job. It was everything else was standing. We could have done a better job coaching. I know I could have, and I told them last week at our last Under the Lights that they will get a better effort from me. So that means more attention to detail, more specific drills that are going to relate more to what you'll see on the field, that sort of thing.
What about the current roster size? How are things shaping up that way?
Well, we got a little bit of a boom here the last week or two. It's amazing. You get near the end of the summer program, and sometimes you get kids that decide they want to play, and, we'll take them. We could be at 40 kids if everybody that we gave equipment to follows through with the commitment. And I am really happy with 40 because it's other than the freshman group, which I think will end up being maybe just 6 kids, that's more than what we were thinking from earlier in the summer.
Before I forget, a little shout out to a guy that won't be around the program. I could probably safely say all the way dating back to the 1960s, and that's longtime assistant coach Gene Raymond, who was an outstanding player at Homer Center, too. I'm sure he's going to be missed and already is.
He is. Yeah, we talked over the holidays, meaning the Christmas holiday, and I was talking to him, calling him about the winter weightlifting program, and he kind of broke the news to me, and I knew the day was going to come. And he had a health issue a couple years ago and came back and gutted it out. Our kids loved him. Our linemen both feared, respected, and wanted to be around him. Well, I should say all 3 of those things. He had that way about him, and he was very organized, came with the hard hat on every day, and it really got our kids' attention. I'm going to miss him personally. I know our staff will too, and I think Gabe was just asking about him over in the other gym when we were waiting to come over. He said, "Is he going to come around at all?" And I said, I went down and saw him a couple weeks ago. He said he's going to pop up here and there, so that'll be a nice little boost for everybody.
Talk about some players, Coach, that you're really counting on. I know you have 3 seniors here that we'll get on camera here in a moment, but maybe some underclassmen too. I know Media Day we always focus on seniors, but overall, some players that really need to step up and be successful again to turn the fortunes around.
Yeah, we talk about these 3 guys we brought today. I mean, it's a combination of dedication and past performance, and I felt like amongst the seniors they were kind of head and shoulders above the rest. And we have a 4th one that has been a 2-way player, Jackson Taylor. Would have brought him, but we have a limit. These 3 guys have really been at the forefront. Riley Coball is a receiver who really established himself on the offensive side last year after I really wasn't giving him many reps early on. And he had a breakout game, and he says to me, "See, Coach, I can play offense too."
I remember that.
And he was right. He ended up being our –
I remember that too.
Yeah. He ended up being our go-to guy in the passing game for most of the season. Cody Bell's kind of a grinder. He's a kid that can play some running back and blocking back, but he really has come along with his dedication and his knowledge of the linebacker position. Like, he's really wanted to get better there and has worked really hard in the weight room the last couple years. He's set a good example, I think, for younger guys. And we got big Gabe Ruffner over here, who's been a 2-way starter. And I've told him on many occasions he has to be the one that steps up and takes the next step, and it's got to be consistency because he has the physical tools. So you got those 4 guys. I mean, we have some of our other seniors like Drew Fisher, Tavius Skillings. Those guys have worked hard, and probably are going to get a look at a starting role on either side of the ball. To round out our seniors, I think we have Hunter Schamberger, who works hard. Connor DeArmond's coming back out with us, and then we got another first-year senior, Aiden Harper. But our juniors and a couple of the sophomores are really going to be the key to support these guys. Carson Arone will get the nod at quarterback. Brady Frazier's an all